Hey everybody, this is Captain Kyle. Now when you go to a con, whether it be anime, horror, sci-fi, or just a regular old Comic-Con, you can't avoid these guys. Vendors. In other words, some pretty awesome folks. Now some people might call them dealer scum, but these folks provide fun stuff and they're usually fans themselves. And most of them love cosplayers too. Of course, they don't want a cosplayer posing in front of their booth while people take pictures for hours and hours and hours, you know, because they have to sell stuff. So don't do that. But for the most part, these are great people who have many of the same interests that you do. However, that doesn't mean you can't negotiate with them to get a better price. So here's 10 tips on how to get a great deal when shopping at conventions, plus a bonus tip at the end. Be right back. So when I say negotiate, just keep in mind, these are people. So be respectful, don't offer them $2 or something that's like $200. That's just plain stupid. However, the first thing you want to do, don't jump at the first item you see. Walk the floor, look around. Sometimes you'll find something that just jumps out at you and you'll be like, I want it, but it might be a little bit too much. Someone else might have it for a lot less. So see the Smallville lunchbox? One vendor had it at a convention for $25. A little more than we wanted to pay. So we walked the floor and you know how much we found it for? $4! Didn't even have to negotiate. Now obviously you take a little bit of a chance when you skip over something that's really cheap. So if we had found this for $4 first, we'd probably have grabbed it right away. Finding something for $4 and then realizing you could have paid maybe $3 is not as tough as paying $25 and realizing you could have paid $4. So look around first. Now when you find something at a convention, it may have a price tag on it, but it's not Walmart. You could potentially ask them to do a little bit better. It doesn't hurt to ask. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. But if you say, can you do a little bit better? They might drop the price. Now, one key here, try to get them to set a price. I've walked up and said, oh, that's something that says 40, I'd pay 35 for it. And I say, can you do better? And they said, oh, could do it for 30. Better than I expected. If I had said, would you take 35? They're not stupid, they would have. So I saved an extra $5 just by letting them set the price. Now, sometimes they know this, so they're gonna say, what are you offering? Go a little low, but again, don't be insulting. This has a $40 price tag. I said, can you do better? He said, well, I left to negotiate. What are you offering? So I offered 25. He took it. I saved $15. How's that? Sometimes I can't give you a better deal. Maybe they paid too much for it. Maybe they're not in charge. It doesn't hurt to ask. As long as you're respectful, it doesn't hurt, and you could save some money. Now sometimes if you're just going in with one item, they might not be inclined to give you a deal. But if you're grabbing more than one item, you could say, hey, can you do better if I buy these 2 items? Buying multiple items can get you a better deal. And if you're buying a lot of stuff, they might give you a really good discount. Now sometimes they'll name a price and maybe it's not the price you're looking for. You could make a counter offer, but the first thing you should do is be quiet. Maybe, something like that was $40 and they say, oh, I could do it for 35, and you're like, They might say, you know what? It's near the end of the con. I'll do it for 30. You didn't even have to make a counter offer. Then again, you can. If they say 35, you might say, no, I was really looking to pay about 25. Maybe they'll say, look, let's split the difference. Let's do 30. But try a bit of silence or a little first. You might just save a couple bucks right there. Also keep in mind, if the item that you want is super in high demand and it's flying off the shelves, I don't think you're going to necessarily get a discount on that. Unless you combine it again with something else, you might be able to get a little bit of a discount. But don't ask on something that everyone wants. As long as it's a reasonable price, buy it. Or walk the floor, maybe you'll find someone with it a little bit less. You can mix and match these tips however you want. Now before you walk away, make sure you inspect the item for any defects, flaws, and to make sure you're getting the right thing. I bought a couple cool looking prints from a vendor, got home, took it out of the bag, and realized one of them was the wrong one. I should have checked before I left. Now the vendor made good on it, like a year later when I found him at a con, but I should have still checked before I walked away from the table. You'll also want to check for defects, anything that, first of all, if you couldn't live with it, you don't want to buy it. Or if it's livable, but maybe you could use it as a negotiation point. The box is kind of beat up, would you take less? That can work too. Speaking of that, very important, find out their return policies. Find out if they have a website. Get a business card. If something goes wrong, then you want to be able to contact them. And if something goes right, you want to be able to find them again. Maybe order from them online. Maybe see them at another con that they're at. But definitely find out who they are, because you never know, good or bad, where that could come in handy. Now you're trying to get a good deal, you're negotiating, and they're hesitant. You make an offer, and they are like on the fence. Cash. If you can offer them cash instead of credit card, because just about everybody takes credit cards nowadays at cons because you have to. But with cash, there's no service fee. It's in their hand. They don't have to wait for it. So cash is always a good thing to have. Can you negotiate with a credit card? Absolutely. But cash just makes it a little bit easier. Now timing. The con's just started. That's not the best time to haggle. The con is ending, maybe the last couple hours, or maybe even the last hour of the con. The vendor's looking around at all this stuff. They have to pack up. They don't want to take it home. That's the time to say, hey, would you take less for this? Can you do any better? Because they're thinking, I don't want to carry this home. Plus, it's the end of the con. It's still sitting there. No one else bought it. You might be their only chance to unload it, so they might be willing to give you a deal. Plus, you never know, they could have had it for a while. That's money tied up in something. If they can get something for it, maybe they don't make as much of a profit, but now they have money, they could buy other stuff, yay, which they can then sell. Finally, don't be afraid to walk away. If they won't give you a deal and you're not willing to pay the price, go elsewhere. You might find it, you might not. It really depends on how badly you need that particular item. You might walk away, find it on eBay for 50% less the next day. That's the chance that they take, and it's a chance that you take. You may not find it for a long time. And if you start to walk away, they might change their mind. They might have been like, no, I'm not taking the price down. And you say, okay, thank you. And you start to walk away, they might be like, hold on, actually, I don't want to pack this up, and they might give you a deal. Now, some vendors don't want to give deals, and you're gonna run into them. I had one vendor, I staked out this one particular Transformers box collection all the con. I knew they had it, I knew what they wanted for it, and I waited until the end of the con. They hadn't sold it. I asked if they could do any better. Well, that's about what it's going for online, so no, I can't do any better. I walked away. All they would have needed to do is either say, I'll take 10 bucks off. It's a $150 item. I probably would have went for it. Or they could have said, you know, we paid almost that for it. We're just trying to move it. We can't really take a loss. I might have bought it anyway. That's what it's going for on the internet. That doesn't go very far in my book. I'm there at a con. I want to get a deal. I don't care that I can get it online for the same exact price. Then I might get it online for the same exact price. Give me a deal. Give me a reason to buy. And if they don't, walk away. So yes, you'll run into some vendors that aren't that pleasant. Don't do business with them. Support good vendors. If you support good vendors, become regular customers, they are more likely to give you good deals. You won't even have to work that hard for them. You'll come up and they might say, hey, you're such a good customer, I'm gonna give you 10% off. Great. You can even become friends with them. If you're friendly with them, if you treat them like people, if you even become friends with them, it can go a long way, and you know they're not going to screw you over, as a few unsavory dealers might. And if you do become friends with them, don't expect that they're always going to give you a deal. If they can, they might. But again, it's their business. And even if you're friends with them, just realize you're not entitled to a discount. And friends or not, you could use all these tips and still not get a discount. Don't take it personally. It's just business. They have to make a living. And if you have a good relationship with a vendor, sometimes it's worth paying slightly more to them than someone you don't know. So those are my tips for shopping at cons. We have some other con tips over here you can check out. If you haven't already, you can subscribe down there and hit that notification bell. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have fun and follow your fandom.